what separates brands with most success on Goodbuy versus those not having as much traction? Is there something that brands have control over, or does Goodbuy kind of control, like you're ingesting the data essentially and controlling that presentation layer? Is there anything that brands can do to increase their chance of success within the Goodbuy ecosystem?
Yes, and outside. So the whole point, just I want to make a Cliff's note on the top of that, is that in the B Corp application and in talking about how our small businesses are our stakeholders, it is important to note that we are hoping to be one of the e-com referral platforms that prioritize the small business's performance both on Goodbuy and off. So we give access, this is top line, but like we give access to the customers, like as soon as they're through, you get access to all their data. You can remarket to them. They're your customer, right? Like we give all the access to our own data and search data. We're continuing to look at ways to offer that to our SMBs. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that part.
Letting them own their customer is massive. I mean, that's a big differentiator from other aggregation platforms like Amazon, where Amazon is such a hugely important platform if you're an e-commerce business. I'm sure some folks who are watching or listening to this, like if they have an Amazon portion of their business, I'm sure it's significant and it's important. But there are some major downsides like not owning your customer, not being able to remarket to them, etc.
And then not being able to leave the platform. Right. And I think that's the problem, right? You're trying to scale your business and you use Amazon to scale, but when you pull out, there's nothing for you. You have no data, no access to customers. And that's with Etsy as well and many other platforms. And they do wonderful things, but it has moved over the years from 30% on average of sales to 40%. And then the recent news just shared 50% of every sale, which for a lot of our small businesses that we're talking to, those margins are an impossibility given how much time they have to dedicate to those platforms. So the key with what we're doing is we're just aggregating, visualizing in a beautiful way against values, identities, whatever it is that someone's searching for, connecting that consumer with them, and then shuffling them out to you. So to answer your question on performance, it is SEO. We see really incredible brands on our tool with like 100,000 Instagram followers whose SEOs, you know, when they're selling a sunscreen, their brand still says dewdrop and doesn't say sunscreen anywhere in the meta description. Like simple stuff like that we are seeing massive improvement from because it's a search engine. We optimize slightly differently than other search engines, but what we're creating is that. And so the better your SEO is, the more thoughtful you are about understanding our user and what they're searching for and making sure that your products are shot in a beautiful way. I mean, you guys know what you're doing over there, Cult Smoke, but same feedback is we're sending folks to your site. So if your product looks the part and they go over, it is your job from that point to ensure that SEO did a good job pulling them in. And I think from a Goodbuy standpoint, the most important thing is it feels humanful. It feels curated and intentional and like your typography looks nice. I know it sounds silly, but I think what we've noticed is we have an average order value that's about 4x of Amazon and it has been 14 months. And I think the reason for that is that once someone clicks through at our 10% conversion rate, because they're like, wow, cool product, they feel something, right? When you're on Wayfair, you don't feel shit, right? And I like, great, Wayfair, I've bought from them a million times. We have to at some point. But when you're at Jungalow, you're like, oh, wow, I know Justina's the owner, that she's a Jewish woman from such an interesting background who's come up with this like beautiful site, who's like curated these products, and then you're motivated to buy more. And so the key is truly just having, and I know it's not meant to promote Cold Smoke, but it ultimately is, right? And agencies like yourself and owners who put intention into their brand story, their about pages, and of course their values, because it motivates and it truly does. And we know that, especially those like sustainable brands and women-owned brands, you know, looking to do better, have a give back component. So I think the basics are SEO and product photography, and then the depth and the actual sales motivation comes from the trust, the human qualities, the authenticity that makes you feel totally different than traditional e-com.
Yeah.